Salt Lake City is a beautiful melting pot of neighborhoods. Lots of people have tried to draw clear boundaries, but no one can quite agree where they begin and end, until you reach this wall, UDOT's big, beautiful urban freeway. Since the 1950s, I-15 has been a literal wall between the east side and the west side, the border between investment and disinvestment, between local and state control, and as a result, the border between rich and poor. That might all be well and good if it wasn't for the traveling circus of impenetrability that is Union Pacific's main line. Unlike I-15, there is no pre-built bypass route for the tracks, so we're stuck with them forever. And that's a problem, because Salt Lake City and the railroad do not get along. At-grade crossings ring in the west side, cutting it off from the east side and even dividing it into several pieces. The few bridges over the tracks were very expensive to build, meaning we're unlikely to get more. Notice something though. The bridges over the tracks we do have are usually on the same roads that feed the Great Freeway Wall. Many of these roads are vital pedestrian routes from east to west, and the freeway interchanges turn them into the equivalent of a human blender. Complicated interchanges aren't the end of the world if you've got 4,000 pounds of living room to get you through, but they're damn dangerous for people on foot. To the credit of our city planners, there have been a number of improvements to the situation over the past few years, including the North Temple Bridge rebuild for the Green Line, the Archie and Lois Archuleta Bridge, sorry if I butchered that finally completed the Jordan River Trail, and the very popular Third North Bridge by West High School, where I am right now. These have been a huge improvement for Fair Park and Rose Park on the north side of I-80, but they leave Poplar Grove and Glendale as isolated as ever. 10th West is closed, 9th West is at grade on an impressively dangerous road, 8th West dead ends, 2nd South is at grade, the Jordan River Trail Bridge is fed by one of the most poorly designed underpasses you might ever have to use. 8th and 9th South are at grade, though the 9 line is a huge improvement whenever the gates are up. 13th South feeds an interchange. 17th South is at grade and might as well just be an extension of the rail yard. 21st South feeds an interchange, and Parley's is too far out to serve the west side, leaving us with 400 South, a crossing with great north-south positioning, thanks to I-80 even better than 2nd South, a grandiose Olympics-era bridge, and a unique freeway interchange that might just enable its success. After ages of planning and nearly 2 full years of design work, Salt Lake City will be transforming 400 South from a crossing you can theoretically walk over into a crossing that is inviting for people of all ages and abilities. We'll dig into the design of the new pathway and the tweaks that make it possible without impacting traffic statistics shortly. But first, let's go to Mary from Salt Lake City Transportation.
Yeah, so 400 South is the only street in Salt Lake City that crosses both the freeway and the railroad tracks and will have a protected bikeway feature. So we have other crossings that don't get stopped by trains, like 21st South, 13th South, North Temple, 600 North will soon have improved bike lanes. But 400 South is the only one that will have physical protection between biking infrastructure and the travel lanes. 400 South is really important. Obviously, it connects between our east side of our city and our west side of our city. This is a really big divide that people experience every day, and probably the folks who know it most are the folks who live on the other side of the railroad tracks and the freeway and are trying to access the resources, amenities, services, jobs, markets, everything on the other side of the tracks and the freeways. So we're really excited about this project to bridge the east-west divide. Just small piece by small piece, we're trying to make it happen.
Maybe the main barrier to this path coming into existence is that this is a very busy UDOT freeway interchange.
And so UDOT's been a partner on this project from the beginning with us. So they helped us with the concept of the project. 400 South is kind of a shared road. So there's 2 segments of the project corridor further east of here that are a UDOT segment and UDOT owned road. And then the rest of it is city owned. But UDOT really needs to have control over the interchange area towards the west. So we've been working together about how we can fit everything in the same right-of-way. Maybe some things look a little different to the very technical engineering eye on the UDOT section of the road, but the experience should be pretty seamless for the user on the ground.
And you mentioned the art. Are there any other things the city will be doing to make sure the path is successful and isn't scary or inaccessible to inexperienced cyclists, families, and the like?
Yeah, great question. So we're really excited to try to bring everything that we can to make this project a success. Of course, given all the limitations and budget constraints that we might face, but the trail itself, especially on the viaduct seems to be the biggest concern in terms of comfortability, in terms of heat, and different little aspects. So we've worked to make sure that the trail is as wide as we can make it, so that if you're trying to pass someone, you can do so safely and comfortably. There's going to be a physical jersey barrier between people walking, biking, and scooting. The jersey barrier is a really good key to this project. So if we were to provide, a proper curb in the road between people biking, walking, and people driving, that means we need to reconstruct the whole bridge, and that's a budget that we do not have allocated for this project. So the jersey barriers are they are safety rated to make sure that, if folks hit them, the jersey barrier might move a little bit, but it slows the car, it stops the car, and it still provides that space for people to pass and get through.
Yeah, when I'm biking, I'm not signing up for 40-mile-an-hour sideswipe collisions.
No.
I'm signing up to get out and breathe the air and smell the roses.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I love that can be made possible.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
And you mentioned that there's no budget to do any structural work on the bridge at all. I think this project has been a fantastically efficient use of very strained city funds for bike infrastructure and road reconstruction.
And I should say, the budget is sufficient enough that we can make safety improvements and maintenance improvements really to the bridge. So we're not reconstructing it, but we are going to be doing some structural maintenance repairs to the bridge while we're out there. That will really help us expand the lifespan of the bridge, so that we don't have to reconstruct it in 20 years. It can be maybe 50 or 70 years.
And that's another great thing for bridge users, is knocking out all the construction in one go.
Right, yes.
Because once this project is done, there will be the same 6-7 lanes.
Right.
Those turn pockets are really long going over the bridge, but during construction there's always going to be some disruption.
Right, yes. So we do ask for folks' patience as we do construction. It's not going to be it's more of a light touch project. So it's not quite a 2100 South where we're redoing all the utilities underneath. That's a needed project, but does require a lot more time. This project, it's really mostly surface level treatments, so we should be in and out of here within the year.
Yeah, I hope you're able to finish by the end of the year, if only so I personally can use the project.
Yes, me too. Oh, could I say one more thing about the success of the project? So we're hoping, more measures of success for the project obviously would be people walking, biking, scooting, rolling, taking the bus more. So we'll keep track of how many folks are boarding the buses now versus after the project. We're excited to introduce more at-level bus boardings across the corridor. We'll be introducing a new crosswalk actually right here. We have a no pedestrian sign over there, and we're excited to get rid of that. So
I'm very excited for that.
And we have our central station right here.
Yeah.
That's Amtrak, Front Runner, tracks, buses, and it makes a lot more sense for folks to be able to cross 400 South here to get to the west side of Poplar Grove than to do a circuitous route around 400 South multiple different ways. So.
Okay, then last question for you, Mary. As a super big and super visible Salt Lake City transportation project, how has public outreach for the project gone? Has there been any pushback from locals on the project? And did the city gain any new improvements or new ideas from the process?
Yeah, great question. So public engagement on this project is really interesting, right? Because since we're bridging the east-west divide, there's kind of 2, maybe even 3 or 4 different focus areas that we need to be paying attention to when it comes to engagement. So we did a lot of engagement at Neighborhood House on the west side, especially in the beginning. We wanted the art on the viaduct to reflect the characteristics of the neighborhood and different values and things that residents were proud of Poplar Grove. And we also chatted as well on the east side here with folks, particularly business owners. So we had one-on-one meetings with all the business owners on the corridor on the south side.
One-on-one, really?
Yes.
That's a lot of work.
It was a lot of meetings.
I love that. But yeah, when you're doing something that'll impact street parking and driveway access, if you can get those sorts of concerns out of the way from the beginning, then you won't have any potentially project-killing pushback in very late design stages.
Yes. And parking is usually the thing that gets people riled up the most. Street parking, I should say.
This amuses me on especially 400 South and 300 West. on 400 South and 300 West, because these are maybe not places that are actually physically safe to be street parking in. If you open your door at the wrong time, you won't have a door anymore.
Yes.
But hey, if the people want to street park in the street parking on the 7-lane road, the people want to street park in the street parking.
Yes, and people all, I mean, street parking is valuable to a lot of people, and we understand that. So we want to make these projects, you know, we can't make everyone 100% happy all the time, but we're not looking to screw anyone over. So that's why we had those one-on-one meetings with all the business owners on the south side that would be impacted. And we worked with them to understand their business operations, maybe how we can tweak our project to best fit their needs at this moment. I will say this section, this eastern section of 400 South, will get reconstructed with the tracks extension for Tech Link and the Olympics.
It will, but it's going to be a while before we even identify funding for that.
Correct. Yes.
Fingers crossed, the hell and back, it'll be done by the Olympics. But
yes.
It's nice to be able to do a quick build project now and
yes.
enjoy it for the next 5-10 years.
Yes. Yeah. So this project really helps inform us and UTA and UDOT. You know, how many people do want to bike on this corridor if there were comfortable biking facilities? So that can help them understand, hey, when this reconstruct comes along, what facilities do we need to make sure we include? Cool.
All
Anything
right.
else? Oh yeah,
I think that'll be it. Yeah, so now we are going to go over onto the project, and we're going to break down, starting all the way on the west side on 9th West, because frankly that's kind of the more important side here. We're going to go through, we're going to break down the entire project and how it makes every little bit of this road, like, I kid you not, 10 times better for everyone. All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, Kyle.
Starting at 9th West, the city had originally planned bike improvements at this intersection, but they would have required replacing the aging stoplight, which is not in the budget this time around. However, they are going to anchor this end of the pathway with a brand new green bike station, one of very few on the west side. Heading east, the existing 6-foot sidewalk will be replaced by a generous 12-foot shared path, and there's a number of nice shade trees along the sidewalk that the city hopes to keep to cool off future pathway users. The path will then skirt around a utility valve before diving under the freeway, staying way further away from the road than the existing sidewalk. It'll be all the way over there. Now we get to the best part of the whole project. A single crosswalk, fully signalized with no slip lanes, is all that's required to come out on the other side of this interchange. This is a crazy improvement over the 4 crosswalks, only 2 of which have lights, on the north side. The city's also going to make some huge geometry improvements to make sure that bicyclists, pedestrians, and drivers meet at clean right angles so everybody can see each other. On the other side of the interchange, the path will have to cross the 765 West Business Access Road, which connects businesses that have been isolated by the freeway and the freight tracks to the rest of the road system. This crossing is the result of some tough compromises with UDOT, who insisted on a very high-speed, poor-angle right turn. Nonetheless, it's a huge improvement. And it gets even better. The new pathway will have 14 feet of space for people walking and cycling, and the city has somehow wrung all of this out of the existing bridge without removing any car lanes. For comparison, the existing sidewalk is a scarcely usable 5 feet wide. Most of the new bike walk roll space will come from narrowing the 6 freeway width lanes on the bridge to a more reasonable 10 feet. Plenty of room for a car going the posted speed limit of 30 miles an hour. There will also be a generous shoulder on both sides, giving heavy trucks and buses plenty of room to breathe. And hopefully this change will reduce speeding on the bridge, making the intersections on both sides a little bit safer. The city will use barriers, public art installations, and lighting to try and make the pathway as inviting as possible. Hard work given the huge volumes of loud, fast, and polluting traffic on the rest of the bridge. They've learned a lot over the past few years, so I'm optimistic. Speaking of lessons learned, the new pathway on the bridge will connect to 3 whole blocks of fully separated 2-way bikeway, linking it up with the rest of Salt Lake City's bike network. Just like the 3rd North Ped Bridge, having a nice quality bike connection on both ends makes it much more useful. One of the most important connections will be a brand new extension of the incredibly useful 3rd West bike path from 9th South all the way up to 3rd South. From 9th South all the way up to 4th South. Sorry, we'll talk about that in a bit. But first, let's go take a tour of the street that we all call 3rd West. How is this thing so wide? The right lane must be 15, 16 feet. Interstates only have 12-foot lanes, and this is in a city. South of 9th, 3rd West has about 95 feet of right-of-way. In that comparatively small space, the city was able to fit a fast and semi-friendly 5-lane road, a 10-foot dedicated bike path, 2 6-foot sidewalks, and still had room left for landscaping, mostly. Further north, this behemoth has 125 feet of right-of-way, and we're not even trying to use it. It's like asphalt was invented, and Salt Lake City said, we'll take all of it, right here. Future generations can figure out how to make it work. But budgets are finite, so we're not getting something quite as hip as the Southern Reconstruction. This will be a quick build in the style of 200 West or 300 South of years past. The city will add a number of these concrete islands and a few slow turn wedges along the west side of the street. And to save even more money, this project won't require any median or striping work, which is great because tariffs have been hitting road paint pretty hard lately, apparently. All it will require is a 7 to 6 lane road diet in select locations and some street parking reconfiguration. This extension is a wonderful feat of budget-friendly design, interagency collaboration, and long-term planning. It'll provide incredible connectivity for only being 5 blocks long. In fact, I've been pretty surprised talking to my fellow Salt Lakers who bike for transportation about just how transformative it will be. So, take it away.
Hi, my name is Andrew Katso. I'm a Salt Lake City local. I'm an avid cyclist and a user of active transportation. I've been involved in lots of different Sweet Streets action events over the years, and I am really pissed about what happened to this bike lane.
Yeah, so it's great that we are finally getting a bike path on all these giant UDOT roads that are they're the stereotypical strode. They're these giant 7-lane beasts that are also full of some of Salt Lake's most important and most loved businesses. So I guess we can start with that. How is the new 300 West bike path going to be useful to you, Andrew? How is it going to be useful to the people you know?
I have been so excited about this path for such a long time. I live near 9th and 9th, and I attend the Greek church on 3rd South and 3rd West. I've been going there my entire life for social events, cultural stuff, and also it's just kind of the core of walkable downtown. Caputo's is here, Pioneer Park is here, the Delta Center is a few blocks north, and I was super excited to have finally a way to go all the way from home to downtown on a completely protected bike lane without interacting with streets or cars at all. I was going to be a straight shot from my front door to where I needed to be in West Downtown.
So speaking of protection, what do you think about the design for the new path? I'm sure there's some safety lessons we've learned as a city over the past few years. There's a lot of past examples of bike lanes, for better or worse.
Well, so when I was looking at the design, it made me think a lot of, it seems like it's a hybrid of what they've been doing with the rest of the bike path on 300 West, and also a little bit of what they've done on 300 South, which is the existing, it's the first ever completely separated bike lane the city tried to do, because at 300 South, they made it quick and easy, and they didn't rebuild the street, they didn't, do the whole concrete repurposing or rebuilding that made the southern original portion of 300 West take so long, so they were able to snap it out. But because it was a quick job, it didn't have a lot of protection, it didn't have a lot of bulb outs, it didn't have traffic islands.
I think the funniest thing on 300... Speaking of 300 West, I think one of the funniest things on 300 South is the giant swatches of gray paint where there maybe should have been concrete, but that was cut from the budget.
Absolutely. So the extension where they were going to take the rest of 300 West all the way and connect it with 300 South, so it could link up with the existing protected bike lane they have on 300 South, that was going to be a much better route because it's taken the lessons from both 300 West in terms of protection and infrastructure, but also the quick construction and in-street build of 300 South. So it was going to be a quick way to, as you said, branch out the network and connect some very important nodes that currently already exist.
So maybe this is not just about building more bike lanes just for the hell of building more bike lanes, as much as I like that concept, but it's more about refining the city's processes for building a new bike lane every year and for building out a network that is equally safe everywhere.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because to take it back, I mean, not just myself, but you're asking about people I know as well. I've been trying to get my partner, my friends, my family, more people to feel comfortable biking in the city and using it as not just a fun thing that is so wacky and different, but an actual genuine utilitarian mode of transportation. And the safer that bike lanes are, the more comfortable they are for the majority of people. You'll always have people that are very confident cyclists that, like people like me who maybe they don't mind biking in the street because they're able to go toe to toe with cars. They're a little bit braver in that regard. But to get new people, families, not very confident bikers, maybe older people, people that have different levels of ability, you have to make safe, protected bike lanes to get people to feel comfortable to be new transportation cyclists for the first time.
So speaking of that physical infrastructure we're building on 300 West, I've hinted a few times already that the project has been cut from 6 blocks back to 5 blocks. Now, the block that has been cut is actually the block that we are standing on right now. And maybe we'll go walk and have a look at that.
Sure.
So we're right here on the corner of Pioneer Park, and behind us is the park, and all the way in the back we have 300 South, and we have the Greek Orthodox Church from earlier. Great community icon. I go to the festival every year. Best food I eat.
I always volunteer. It's great.
But Andrew, could you tell us what has happened? Where did the bike path go? Because it is now going to end where we are standing.
You know, people have lots of different ideas of what happened, and I think we might never know 100% what happened behind the scenes. But what we at least do know is that there was not any public negative outcry. It seemed as though people were only positive about this, and kind of at the last second, and a big surprise to the city as well. You know, this is all public knowledge. UDOT told the city very abruptly, you know, you're going to have to axe this part of the project. You know, it's technically on a highway. We don't want to lose the parking. You know, there are rumors that maybe like someone different, you know, people with pull in the city talked to UDOT and said, hey, I don't like the fact that we're losing such and such parking. We're never going to really know the answer 100%, but what we do know for sure is that because this segment is technically part of State Road 89, UDOT does have authority over it, and they said it's not going to fly. Sorry, guys.
And maybe that's the biggest thing. It came really as a surprise because Salt Lake City did their due diligence, and in the very, very early stages of the project, they reached out to UDOT and they worked on a plan that would work for everybody. UDOT agreed they would merge the right through lane and the right turn lane here, so losing one approach lane on the intersection, and the city was okay losing maybe a couple dozen parking spaces off Pioneer Park. But then UDOT comes out of nowhere. I guess not entirely nowhere. This is on the heel of Senate Bill 195, which is put a lot more powerful people on the opposite end of the scale with regard to bike infrastructure. But they decided very late, actually, after the 100% ready for construction design was released to the public.
I would actually even push back slightly and say, in the grand scheme of things, it was kind of out of nowhere. This project has been discussed and, you know, been on Salt Lake City Transportation's website for quite some time. And 400 South, 500 South, and 600 South are all UDOT streets. So as you said, they were talking to Salt Lake City Transportation and collaborating on this project. This isn't news to them. This is now being constructed as we speak. I mean, I'm sure that you already have footage of this, but they are building this finally. Literally, not even a full month. I'd say 2 weeks, maybe even a week and a half before construction was slated to start, they pulled the Pioneer Park portion. So I don't know about, is it as literally out of nowhere as it possibly could have been? No, but it's pretty friggin' close.
As far as the construction project goes, yeah, it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
And like, I'm pissed that we're losing a block of high quality bike infrastructure and a critical connection to 300 South, plus the potential of maybe even going further north because we get more and more cultural amenities by the block. It's almost exponential.
And I'm also a huge booster for green bikes. You know, I think that the bike share system that we have in Salt Lake City specifically, but in any city really is great. And the bike share station here at Pioneer Park is right there at the corner of 300 and 300 on this side of the street where the bike lane would have just delivered you right there. So whenever I come here downtown, I love just having like a casual stroll down from my place to the 9th and 9th Green Bike Station, get to hop on that. I get a safe, leisurely, you know, exercise-filled trip down the 9 line, and then, you know, then I have to currently go on 300 East and then 300 South and kind of yada yada. But here previously, but before they had changed the plan, I could have just gone straight from 900 South on the 9 line and then a single right-hand turn along, 300 West, and I could have been right here dropping my green bike, and I would have been in downtown.
Yeah, and as far as the connectivity on this side, the 300 West path going all the way south, it goes past all the big box stores, a number of local breweries. The Salt Lake Brewing Company facility, rest in peace.
Well, then of course it hits the other notorious bike gap because they built the 300 West cycle path with the intent to connect Parley's Trail with downtown.
Yeah.
And so now they're finally fixing the northern bike gap, which was from the 9 line to Pioneer Park.
But there's still that gap on the south.
And that's not Salt Lake City's fault. South Salt Lake has had to pick up that slack for a long time now.
It's part Salt Lake City's fault because they reconstructed the city line, and for roughly 1 block along the frontage of the Home Depot and the McDonald's.
Yeah, that's true.
They chose to build a right turn lane, like completely from scratch, from dirt up, a new curb, new sidewalk, new
not know
everything,
that. Wow.
instead of a bike path.
Interesting.
Which I'm sure was the result of a drawn-out dispute with UDOT, and I'm sure everybody did their due diligence,
For
and I'm
sure.
sure we'll get something eventually, but
So
I would say 70-30 South Salt Lake, but hopefully we get something eventually.
So yeah, I don't know what that end result is going to be then, but I really
Yeah.
hope that someone ends up connecting to Parley's Trail, because that would be great to just do that without any stress either.
Yeah. Again, network effect. Like
Exactly.
you're taking individual bike paths, and now you can chain them together and have a safe ride across the city. And then on the north end, as for the connectivity, you would think maybe you can hop off of 3rd West and go up into Pioneer Park, and then you're at the Green Bike Station. That's a decent idea. As it stands now, that kind of sucks because you have to go over gravel to get to the concrete loop. Now, what could have saved this entire project is if the path was incorporated into the upcoming Pioneer Park redesign. This is part of the city's parks bond. They're going to try and turn Pioneer Park from less of a grass field. Mind you, in the last park redesign, they put more grass field. They realized that's maybe not it.
Right.
So they're going to go for less grass field and more active programming and more community amenities to make it a more fun and inviting place to be. So a lot of money has been cut out for this, and apparently
Right.
it's fairly far along in the design phase. If UDOT had been more forthcoming about what they wanted on their one block of 300 West right here, then the path could have been incorporated smoothly into the design of the park. Since they waited so damn long, they have not only delayed construction of the 300 West path, which I hope will finish before winter, we'll see. They've waited so long it will probably not be practical to work it into the Pioneer Park design.
One part that I'm torn on is that they absolutely, if the utilitarian end goal was to get the bike lane, like that grand finish to, just get it over the finish line, they absolutely could. I don't know, they could not have this grass here so they could save water, they could put it on this gravel portion, they could do a lot to have it in the park itself.
Yeah.
But we already have so much, there's already such limited green space here in downtown Salt Lake City that even losing a little bit of green space here takes away from the community. It's just like less gathering public space, the farmer's market has less room for people when the park actually fills up, Twilight has less space. I really wanted them to just take a bite out of the street. That would have been good for everyone.
Okay, and then last topic on planning for the future is, so we'll have 300 North on the north end. I think that's a great anchor. We'll have 400 South soon on the south end.
Right.
We've got a few different bits and pieces feeding in on the east side. But in the middle, we have very little east-west and north-south connectivity. So if you were to just pick some streets that you think would be good long-term choices for bike infrastructure, especially accounting for future rail projects, we've got tracks, anything you might want to do with the main line.
I mean, of course, this just goes without saying because it's already been discussed, but even looking at a map, the fact that, 500 West is right here and links up the granary with existing development by Gateway through downtown, 500 West needs to have better bike infrastructure, and it has, it's a quieter street, so that's often touted as it already exists, but the city itself, through the Green Loop project, they want to do that. They want to have, more green space, more shade, and they want to create that kind of mid-downtown connection that will kind of complete another unutilized node of downtown transportation.
A lot of things to look forward to.
There's so much potential for Salt Lake. We just have to push and advocate so it actually happens.
It was great having you on, Andrew. Nice to be in Pioneer Park. These shade trees are amazing. I hope they don't cut too many of them down when they're doing construction. When they built the field, they cut a few of them down. We'll see. Still beats the heat on 4th South and 3rd West.
So much. Kyle, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. There's so much potential and possibility in Salt Lake. I'm excited to see you at more events and to keep pushing and advocating. Doing a small plug for the Rio Grande Plan, an effort that I'm super involved in. We want to bury the rails on, that are along the core of downtown under 500 West and just get a lot more space for our city, make transit more efficient, and just give us more connectivity in our own city.
And that's one of the best public outreach successes I've seen of any upstart project around here. If we had that sort of outreach for everyone and their dog's random bike path, that would be amazing. So,
and that's what I try and tell people that are involved in that effort. I'm like, just because I am involved in the Rio Grande Plan, still show up for Sweet Streets, still show up for Bike Utah, because these are the direct action movements that are going to get the holistic city that we want to build. What's the point of having reactivating the train station and burying the rail downtown
if
our
bike
city isn't
anywhere.
nice? Exactly.
If you can't get your tracks connection on 4th West,
100%.
such and so forth, or 450 West, depending who you ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, turn out, go to community input meetings, go to community events, just go to socials with other like-minded people. There's a lot of power to be had in spreading the word when you're fighting against other people who are just complaining quietly about like 2 parking spaces.
Absolutely.
It does not take much to push that over and create transportation solutions that work for everyone. So again, thank you, Andrew. Till
Thanks,
next
Kyle.
time, let's, I don't know, steal a slogan, keep the streets sweet.
Keep Sweet Street.
Thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And if you really like what we do here, consider becoming a member on Patreon. We'll be posting bonus material for this video over there, as well as early access to all of our podcast episodes, exclusive episodes, and even occasional merch drops. Thanks as always to our patrons for making bigger productions like this possible. So a lot of potential there. That's some really low-hanging fruit. Woo! That was pretty good.
See, we need a bike path, guys.
Speaking of gravel, we don't want to be biking on a gravel shoulder over the tracks. I am not going to ask why Route 2 is going that way. This will come from narrowing the existing 6 freeway width lanes, about